Hi, Francisco with BenQ here. Today, I'd like to take you through the features and functions of your RP7504 BenQ board. First up, let's talk about your front-facing connection ports. Your BenQ RP7504 is going to have connection ports in the front to allow you to connect a device quickly and easily. First, you're going to have a USB-C port, which is actually going to provide you with audio, video, touchback, and charging for your connected device. Next up, you're going to have HDMI and USB Type-B. When using these two cables combined, you'll be able to connect your device for audio, video, and touchback. You also have two USB Type-A ports. These can be utilized for things such as connecting a USB drive and also to connect your wireless keyboard and mouse to give you direct control of your BenQ board. Lastly, we have a mic in port. If you choose to connect an exterior microphone to amplify your voice, you can do so. Next to those ports, we also have an air ionizer. Along the front, you're going to have a speaker bar that's also going to double as a pen tray. This speaker bar is going to contain your two front-facing speakers, as well as built-in array microphones right here in the front beneath the BenQ logo. Coming down to the other side, you're going to find your NFC reader. This is where you would tap your NFC card to log in. More about that in just a bit. You're also going to have the infrared sensor for your remote, a power button, home button, back button, settings button, volume up and volume down buttons, all located here on the right side of your BenQ board. Around the side of your BenQ board, you're going to have additional USB connections as well as HDMI, USB touch, and an additional USB-C data port. The BenQ board display is going to be a 4K display with an antimicrobial coating as well as blue light filter and a flicker-free display. That coating also extends to the included remote accessory and two dual-tipped stylus. These contain both a fine point tip and a broad point tip and can be placed here on your pen tray / speaker bar. On the top of your BenQ board, you'll also find that there's an additional USB-C port and a USB Type-A for camera additions. So if you have a web camera that you would like to plug in, you can actually connect that into the top USB port on your boards and have those sitting right on top to utilize any of your connected camera or virtual meeting applications. Logging into your BenQ board is quick and easy. We utilize different SSO options or single sign-on that you can use to log in using the login button here. From here, you can actually type your username and password. If you have actually been added to the BenQ account for your organization directly, this would usually be via email invite. Or if you've been added using an SSO method, you would tap the SSO at the bottom. This includes things like Google, Microsoft, which is going to utilize the SAML or SAML authentication method, ClassLink, or Clever. Please follow up with your local IT department to double check and ensure you're using the correct credentials to log into your BenQ board if you have any questions. Alternatively, you can also hit the QR code button, scan this QR code with a mobile device such as a phone or tablet. That will take you to the same login website utilizing those same methods to log in from your device directly instead of having to type any information on the screen itself. Lastly, and my personal favorite, quickest way to log in is to utilize NFC technology. This will allow you to take an NFC card that has been bound to your BenQ account, come over to the board at the NFC logo, simply tap that card. Once you hear that tone, the BenQ board will log into your BenQ account and the board will be ready to use. Once you log into your BenQ board, you'll see your customized background and home screen. This background and home screen apps, as well as the profile login icon, can all be changed from your individual AMS account via ams.benq.com. So here you'll notice these are my home screen applications. All of these can be left here. If there's anything that I don't want to utilize, I can actually press and hold, drag it to here and remove it from the home screen. This will not delete the app, simply remove the icon shortcut from the home screen. You can also press and hold and then drag it down into the taskbar area. So now I can have up to 7 applications docked down here at the bottom. That will leave me a nice clean interface here to utilize. Or I can move it around anywhere on screen where you see the gridded pattern on my home screen. We're just going to go ahead and put that back. Any additional apps that you would like to add are available in your app launcher. That's this 4 square waffle-shaped icon at the bottom. And this will be a list of all of the current applications available on your BenQ board that have already been downloaded. For additional applications, you also have access to the BenQ App Store here. This is going to be a list of all the applications that we have worked out partnerships with that you can download directly onto your board. Some of these applications are going to have a paid component. Some of them are completely free. The RPO4 is BenQ's latest and greatest, featuring our fastest processor and Google EDLA certification. What that means for you is that you're going to experience a smooth, seamless interaction with your board, as well as native Google app support. For example, here we have Google Chrome, Google Drive. You're also going to have things like Google Sheets, Google Docs, and Google Slides. For additional Google applications or other applications available via the Google Play Store, please consult your local IT administration team to verify those applications. In addition to the native Google apps, you're going to have access to the powerful BenQ applications on your BenQ board. The first one I'd like to share with you is InstaShare 2, which is our native wireless casting solution. The InstaShare 2 icon is this icon here on your board. InstaShare 2 is also available as an app for multiple devices via Google Play Store, the Apple Store, as well as for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android devices. On top of that functionality, we also have the ability to natively cast using AirPlay, Google Cast from those available mobile devices, Miracast using your Windows device, and our newest feature is webcasting with a URL and session ID that will allow you to wirelessly share your device from any network, any device. The other connection options, including the native cast and the InstaShare 2 apps, do require you to be on the same network as your BenQ board. That is one layer of security that we offer with our wireless casting. We also have a pairing code and board name that would need to be correct in that connection window on your InstaShare 2 application. Down here, this little square icon here will give you access to your InstaShare 2 settings. Within the settings window, I have a few settings that I'd like to recommend. We have available a connection password that can be enabled so that is an additional layer of security before anybody casts to your board. Also, you have a setting that allows you to confirm before devices share content. What this setting does is it gives you a pop-up on screen that you would have to tap either allow or deny for that connection to actually occur on your BenQ board. Lastly, under advanced, we have native casting. This setting can actually turn off the visibility for the native casting services on your BenQ board, including AirPlay, Google Cast, Miracast, and that webcasting feature. Now, once you have devices connected to your board via InstaShare 2, you have a few options as to how to display that information. If it's a singular device, such as my teacher device, I can actually choose this floating window, and then I have a nice floating picture-in-picture window of my connected device on top of my BenQ board applications that can work in conjunction with any of those apps natively from my board. Additionally, we have the Smart Split Screen, which can actually house up to 9 screens or 9 devices connected simultaneously, with up to 32 connections maintained simultaneously. Now, if I wanted to rotate between my screens, I would simply come over to my menu. Right here underneath would be a list of my devices. I would toggle them on and off as I wanted to switch them out with my Smart Split Screen. With the Smart Split Screen, as devices are added or removed, my BenQ board is going to adjust the amount of screen real estate that each device is occupying up to 9. If there are 3 or 4, it's going to be a 4-screen split. If there's only 2, it's going to be a side-by-side. 5 and 6 is going to be a 6 square, and then 7, 8, and 9 will be the 9 grid like you see here. The InstaShare 2 app also allows for an additional feature so I can cast my board directly to a mobile device such as a tablet or laptop, and I can actually control my BenQ board from my device from anywhere within my classroom. The next feature I'd like to take a look at is our connections. Now here you'll notice this little box with an up arrow. Pushing that button is going to give you my connections menu. This is where I can pull up any of my connected devices from any of the ports that I've got available on my BenQ board. Tapping on one of these connected devices will switch my BenQ board over to that input and bring that device on screen. Now, I mentioned previously that if you utilize any of the front connections or any of the side connections, with the USB-C in the front, you're going to have your audio, video, touch, and charge on your device. The HDMI and USB Type B connections, or the touch cables, those must be used together to be able to provide that video and touch interaction on your screen. But with that being connected, HDMI, USB, touch, you can actually walk up to the board and control any Windows laptop or your MacBook on screen as if it was a giant touchscreen. Very handy feature to have. Adding to that one more layer of interaction with your BenQ board, we're going to utilize the floating tool. This adds a great level of functionality with any device connected or any of your BenQ applications native to the board other than the EasyWrite whiteboard app, which we'll get into in just a bit. So here's your floating toolbar. First up is going to be your pen tool. This is what it's going to allow you to annotate over anything on screen, any of your applications that you have open, any of your devices that you have connected on any input can be annotated on top of with this floating toolbar pen tool. Keep in mind that our annotations serve as an overlay. Think of a transparency on top of a worksheet. So anytime that I want to mark up my worksheet, I can use my pen tool, come in and write on screen any of the annotations that I need to make on that. To save any of those annotations, they will not save directly onto the file I've got open. That way, maintaining the integrity of your file so that it can be used again and again or on a different format. Instead, what we can do is we can take a screenshot using this camera icon here, use our landscape button there, and this will allow me to take a screenshot using our screenshot tool in a variety of different ways with the handles that I can resize, full screen here. Then I've got a save icon, which will allow me to simply save this as an image file. I can also hit this button next to that, the Easy, and then the pen tool, which is our EasyWrite whiteboard, and that will send this image directly into my whiteboard to utilize in that lesson. And there we go. So now this image screenshot with my annotations is now loaded in my EasyWrite whiteboard app so that I can create a lesson built around that screenshot. Going back to our floating tool, within that pen tool, you can also tap again to have your pen size. Right here, you've got some preset color options with the ability to hit the plus and to come in and use custom colors using our color wheel, RGB codes, and we also have a simple color palette with some predefined colors here that you can select, save, and add to your color selection right there. Now the next tool here is your highlighter tool, which is going to have similar functionality to that pen tool as far as the size, the color, and the ability to write on screen over any of your apps or inputs. Next up, we have this tool here that looks similar to a magic wand. This is actually an on-screen laser. This is great for on-screen visual tracking to really bring into attention the topic or area of your screen that's being discussed, which in this case is our floating tool right here. Coming around the circle, we also have an eraser tool. Now the eraser tool is going to be a standard palm eraser, so I can use my palm. You can also use your placeholder felt eraser here. Very easy that way. If you tap again on that eraser icon, you're also going to notice there's a couple of other options. The one in the middle is actually one of my favorite. It's our strike-through eraser because I can chop right through an object and it erases only what I'm striking through instead of everything in the area. So I can go just like that to erase. Tap again on the eraser and we have the Erase All button, which is going to clear everything on the screen that we've used from our annotation tool. Next up, what I want to talk about is the fabulous and fantastic recording tool. Now, it's not just your regular recording tool. This is actually a screen recording tool which will record anything happening on your BenQ screen, including apps from the board, as well as anything that you've got connected device-wise. So if I've got my laptop plugged in, I'm doing annotations, this will take a screen recording of that, as well as the audio using those built-in microphones. So let's take a look at this. Let's bring our annotation tools, right? We've got that pulled up. We've got a pen with our color selected there. We're going to go ahead and tap that record tool. So here you'll notice I've got this timer going. This is showing me how long my recording is. I've got a pause button to temporarily pause the recording and then the stop once I've completed it. So here, as I'm going through my lesson, this is going to record all the activity on my screen so that I can save it. Once I hit that stop button, you'll notice I get a pop-up here to name the file. Hit OK. Then it will ask me what save location I would like to utilize. Now on my screen, you'll notice that I've got a Google Drive and OneDrive icon. These cloud drives can actually be linked via your AMS account, again at ams.benq.com, and utilized to save directly from your BenQ board screenshots, screen recordings, and those EasyWrite lessons so that they can be quickly and easily accessed anywhere that you have internet access to get to your cloud drives. So today I'll select my Google Drive here, my drive, and then we're going to go ahead and hit save. All right, now to access any of those files that I've saved to my cloud drive, I can go directly into my AMS Files app or all my stuff. We're going to go into my Google Drive and then at my drive. All right, so today was the date of that recording. Right here, we're going to go ahead and select that recording. So here you'll notice I've got this timer going. This is showing me how long my recording is. I've got a pause button to temporarily pause the recording and then a stop once I've completed it. So here, as I'm going through my lesson, this is going to record all the activity on my screen so that I can save it. So this is a great way to quickly and easily share an introductory lesson, a tutorial, an extension activity with students, with parents, to be able to post it online, to send it via email or newsletter. All right, next up on our floating tool is our toolbox right here. So these tools, again, are accessible via the floating tool on any of your screens, any of your apps, any of your inputs. First up, we have the calculator. Nice basic function calculator, great for calculating things. Next up, we have our countdown timer. So you'll see here we've got hours, minutes, and seconds. The countdown timer does have an audible end sound, so let's go ahead and set that up for you. So you'll notice here that I scroll through the time, I hit start. This is great, movable on screen, but it does take up a lot of real estate. If we hit this button here, it actually turns into our floating widget mode, which can be put anywhere on screen and will stay on screen regardless of our input. Time's up. The floating widget mode is available on any of the tools where you see that minimize button. So the same functionality applies here to our stopwatch. Once we start that, we can minimize and then leave it anywhere on screen. Next up, we have our scoreboard. So with our scoreboard, you can do an activity with up to 8 teams. These teams can be renamed by tapping on that text field, inserting any name that you wish via the on-screen keyboard or a connected wireless keyboard. Then with our score, we just hit the flip card up for adding points and down to remove points. And again, we have the minimize button that we can tap and then leave that on screen. All right, the next tool I'd like to talk about is our random number generator. So this is great when looking for volunteers or selecting individual students or numbers from within a range. You can set your range here, up and down. Select the number that you want from within that range, and then we can hit start. This is great because then it takes the need to focus my attention on that selection, and allows the board to generate it randomly as I'm giving instructions or setting up the board for the activity. Minimized, it looks like this, and it will continue to generate those numbers while I'm giving instructions, while I'm circulating the room, while I'm setting up my board. And you'll notice here that I've got the complete 6 selected from that number range. All right, next up around here is this flashlight icon. This is actually a really fun tool to utilize. This is our on-screen spotlight here. This tool can be pinched to zoom with 2 fingers. So here you'll notice that it's round. I can go big and small. If I tap on that gear icon, I've got a size option as well as an opacity option. I can also switch it to square. Size and opacity also applies for the square, as does the 2-finger pinch to zoom. We also have the ability to turn off the fixed aspect ratio so that you can do the horizontal and vertical aspect separately, so really wide to really narrow. Same thing on the oval, wide and narrow, and the opacity also still applies. Within this tool, we also have the ability to turn on this button here, which is our shader tool. So I can resize that and use this to screen reveal different portions of my screen. Next up in the toolbox is the unit converter, which has a lot of different areas that you can actually convert different units of measure. Within each unit of measure, you can change the numbers and things that you're working with and then export these directly into your whiteboard. Then you have your spinner tool. This is a really fun tool that you can create a list with this button here. As long as you name your list, you can save it into that drop-down menu. Currently, scrolling down to the bottom will let you add up to 10 items to this list. And then we can further customize this with a different color palette, such as warm, cold, or just the default. And then we can also add special effects, including a celebration, confetti, and then this bad luck storm. We'll hit save, and now when we run our spinner, it'll make the selection on screen, pop up your choice with special effect, and the selection can also be left on screen. All right, here, lastly, I want to talk about is the floating notes. So this acts as a true digital transparency, allowing you to annotate over anything and move your transparency page around on screen, minimize it, bring it back, and then we can also close out, giving you an additional layer of interactivity and engagement via that floating toolbar.
The digital whiteboard is called EasyWrite 6, and this is the application. On the EasyWrite whiteboard, you have lots of different elements to teach on the fly, to bring in your own content, as well as save your content directly to your cloud drive. As I mentioned earlier, you have 2 styluses with the board. While I can use my pen to write in handwriting on the board, I can also use my fingers as well. These boards are multiple points of touch, so it will recognize when you have several students at the panel working at the same time, as well as just utilizing multiple styluses or having to write multiple colors at one time. When I write something in my handwriting on the board, I have a couple of options with my pen here. I can use the select tool to select my word, and then it gives me this menu. You'll start to see that a lot of the menus look exactly the same, whether you're working with a text box, an imported image, or even a shape. These things are very intuitive to your use, so that way it's a lot easier for you to get the hang of utilizing these tools. I can tap the easy icon, and it's going to turn my handwriting directly into text. I can also tap the speech icon, hello, and it will read it aloud. I can also tap the translate icon and translate languages. To adjust the spoken language or the translated language, you can just hold down on the translate icon, and then you can choose for another language package of your choice. I also have a menu that pops up here with my text box. I have lots of different options. I can trash this and delete this. I can lock it. I can also easily copy and use the clipboard to paste, or I can duplicate, or I can use the infinite clone. My infinite clone is now going to give me as many options as I want with having an infinite amount of resources. Similarly to how I wrote the text, I can also draw a shape with my pen. So if I draw my circle here, I can use my select tool to select that. I can tap the shape icon and it is going to turn that into a perfect shape that closely matches what I drew. I now have all of those same options where I can lock, I can throw away, I can also change the color here to fill it in, and then I have all of those options such as duplicating or having infinite clone as well. One thing with the EasyWrite is its ease of navigation. You'll notice at the bottom, I've been working from the pen in your main toolbar here in the center, but over on the right-hand side, this is where I can see how many pages I have in my whiteboard at this moment. Right now, I'm on page 1 of 1. I can tap the plus sign, and now I have 2 pages, and it started a new page over for me. I don't have to worry about losing everything on my last page because I can just hop over to the new page and start fresh from there. I can also navigate my pages from this menu here. I can quickly drag and drop if I want to rearrange. I can also duplicate the page, or I can insert a new page. So if I want to insert a new page in between, I tap the 3 dots, select new, and it's going to insert a page in between those 2 pages. With the pen tool, you have a couple of options. You've got the normal pen, which is what I've been using to write. You can also switch between, so here's your pen. You can also switch with the highlighter. I can also have the dual pen mode, which allows me to have 2 different colors at one time. As I mentioned before, your styluses have a skinny tip and they have a thick tip. I can take one side of the pen and tap one color. I can take the other side of the pen and tap a different color. Now, when I write my notes, and then with one color, and I flip the pen around, I can now circle or underline or do something else with another color. This is also great when you have multiple students at the board. You can give each one the different size pen, or one of them can use the pen and the other can use their finger, and it allows them to write in 2 different colors at the same time so that it's easy to distinguish which students are doing which work. You also have the teacher toolbox all the way to the right on the main side, on the main menu. In this toolbox, you have resources such as a timer, a stopwatch. You also have a random spinner. When you're using this toolbox, some of the tools have this icon right here. Those are floating widgets. So now when I tap that, it's now a floating tool. I can move this around. Even when I use my home button to go back to my home screen, that floating tool is still going to be there. And also in the toolbox is our Google integration. We've got Google Drive and Google Chrome here. When you tap one of those icons, it will auto split your screen. So now I'm looking at my EasyWrite and I'm looking at my Chrome browser. It will have your recently used tabs. It will keep them open so that you don't have to go find a whole new tab and go access all those resources. If you already had those resources open in Chrome, when you split your screen with Chrome, it will open all of those tabs that you had available. So now I can utilize my resources in a split screen. To change your split screen, you can make this side a little bit bigger, and so now my whiteboard is a little smaller just by utilizing the black bar in the middle to drag. If I want to completely get rid of my split screen, I can just pull all the way to one side and it will open the app back in full screen. I can also access my Google Drive from EasyWrite as well. So now I've got my Google Drive in split screen and now I can access all of the resources to have on the ready. This is especially helpful when you want to have your Google Slides in presentation mode while also utilizing your whiteboard. It just gives you a lot more functionality to be using multiple resources at the same time. One last thing with EasyWrite is now what do you do with this lesson? You've now created some different resources. I've got 5 pages here of notes and annotations I've modeled for my students. So now what do we do with this? On the bottom left side, you have the hamburger menu, the 3 lines, and you have a share icon. You have a lot of different options here to share this resource. Maybe you just want to share this one page as an image, or you want to share it as a PDF because you want to drop it into your Google Classroom or into Schoology so that your students can access it later, or especially for all those students that may be absent. I've got lots of different resources here. When I choose to save it as a PDF, it's going to ask me, which pages do I want to save? All of them I can select. I can pick and choose what I want to save. It's going to ask me to give it a name. And now I can choose if I want to save it directly into my Google Drive, or I can choose AMS because maybe I use OneDrive. When I tap AMS, it's going to take me to this window where now I can choose to either save it to my Google Drive, my OneDrive, or even directly to the board. That saving feature will work exactly the same way, regardless of the type of file you're saving it as. If you want this file to continue to be editable, or you want to share it with some of your colleagues in a shared drive, then the best way to save this resource will be to save it as an EasyWrite file. That will keep it in the EasyWrite file type to make it easy to open on another panel if you're teaching in another classroom, or if your colleague wants to use the same lesson for later. You probably have already figured out how to navigate the main menu on the bottom. You have your select tool, your pen tool. You also have additional resources such as your teacher toolbox with your timer, stopwatch, and spinner. But you can also import your media. If you haven't already, you definitely want to go in and link your cloud drive to your BenQ AMS account. Be sure to watch the first video to walk you through those steps of logging in and linking your cloud drive. When your cloud drive is linked, it allows you to import media directly from the board or from your cloud drive. I currently have both my Google Drive and my OneDrive connected. If I have resources in my Google Drive, I can tap Google Drive, My Drive. I can now go and find those resources that I want to bring into the board. So if I want to bring in my image of the mountains, I can tap on my image and tap import. Now that image is going to pop up directly in my EasyWrite. Now I can resize my image. I've got my same menu that pops up whether you're using a shape, an image, or even a text box. But having that cloud drive linked makes it so easy to go in and grab those resources. Another media type you can import is your documents. Maybe you have a lesson plan or you have a worksheet that your students are following along with. You can navigate through your cloud drive and import those resources. I'm now searching for a document. This document is 9 pages. I don't need all 9 pages to be imported. I can actually unselect that and I can select just the pages I need. So if I need 2 pages, I can tap OK. And it's now going to add 2 pages to my workbook. So you can see here by tapping the page number, I can now see all of my slides that I previously worked on, but then I can now see that it imported 2 of my sheets. I can zoom out, I can move this around, I can zoom in. When this resource imports directly to the board, it's ready for me to write on that resource. So now I can annotate directly on this tool, and even if I move this around, those annotations are going to stay right there. So when I want to model this with my students, I still have all of this working space over here, and I can annotate directly on the resource. I can also import other media types such as videos, audio files. I can even bring in a YouTube video. When I bring in a YouTube video using this icon in EasyWrite, it will actually take out the ads and it will not play the suggested video at the end. One thing to note though is when you import a video via YouTube here, it will play full screen, so you won't be able to utilize another area of the whiteboard at the same time. You can also import from other EasyWrite files. If you didn't already know, you can save your EasyWrite lessons as an EasyWrite file type directly into your cloud drive. Now I can open that file from any panel, Or I can come in and import from that lesson because maybe I want to pick up where I left off yesterday. Or one of my colleagues shared a lesson with me and we have it in our shared EasyWrite lesson folder. Now I can go grab that lesson and maybe I don't need all 4 slides. I just need one of these. I can import one slide from a previous EasyWrite lesson and it's now going to put it directly into my lesson. Again, it just added a page where I was, so now I have an additional page with another resource. We also have some preloaded content as well. So we have the templates. This is a template gallery that has lots of different resources here. So if you want to bring in your story map, you can tap the story map, and this is ready for you to write your notes directly on. So I can now annotate, I can brainstorm, I can have my students come up to the board and they can brainstorm directly on here. I can also import backgrounds as well. So here you'll see that we have some preloaded backgrounds. So if I wanted to utilize my multiplication chart or my periodic table, I can select one of those backgrounds, but I can also import my own backgrounds as well. So if I tap this plus icon, again, it's going to take me to this screen where I can go to my cloud drive. And now I can grab one of my backgrounds that I have saved, and it's going to add to the list. Now, every time I log into my panel and I navigate to my whiteboard, all of those backgrounds will be there. I don't have to import them every day. So now I can tap on my background, and again, it's ready for me to annotate directly on. So when I'm ready to make a note here, I've got all of my resources ready to go. When I tap the plus icon to give me a new page, it is going to keep the same background. It assumes that you want the same background again because maybe you're going to model a different type or you want to provide a different annotation. If you don't want the same background again, just tap the backgrounds icon and tap the very first color and it will take you back to our default EasyWrite background. We also have a few other galleries of preloaded content as well. One of those is our 2D image library. This has a lot of different icons and resources ready for you to bring in. So something, for example, like telling time. We've got some clocks here that you can bring in. I can now lock it. I can duplicate it. Maybe I want to have 2 clocks or I want to have multiple students come to the board. I can also utilize the infinite clone feature as well. But when I lock this, I'm ready to write directly on here. So now I can have students come up and navigate the resource that I just imported. So we have lots of different icons and tools in the 2D image gallery. We also have a shape gallery. This has all your basic shapes as well as a few 3D shapes. You also have a 3D image gallery. This 3D image gallery does allow you to pull in a 3D image, and you can turn the image completely around and look at it from all sides. One last thing is our reveal tool. So sometimes you want to have something shown on the board, but maybe you don't want the students to see it just yet, or you've got the answer key and you want to hide it. You can tap the reveal tool and it will quickly cover. So maybe you don't want to see the answer, you want students to come up and tell the time, and then when you're ready, you can move that out and you can reveal the time. You may already know that in your toolbox, you have access to your Chrome browser as well as your Google Drive. When I tap on the Chrome icon, it will auto split the screen for me. One thing that's great about this split screen is how easy it is to grab content from your browser and bring it directly into EasyWrite. For example, if I am teaching a lesson about frogs, I can come over here and find an image of a frog that I love, that I want to use in my lesson, and I can just long press, click, and drag, and now that image of the frog is directly in my EasyWrite lesson. On this image, there's a little purple circle that says AI. When I tap on that AI icon, it gives me a couple options. One, I can change the artistic style of the image. If I want it to look more like a painting instead of a real image, you can do that. But the other is the background remover. So if I want to remove the background, I can tap Insert, and now you'll see this is the same picture of the frog, just with no background. I can also do the same thing with text. Maybe I want to bring in the overview of a frog to put right next to my text. my image. I can click and drag, and now I've got that text directly on my whiteboard. I can tap the translate icon and it will translate that text into my selected language. Another option with dragging content is if you have a picture that has some content or text on it, such as this image has some words on here. The menu at the top, one of the options has the T on it. When you do that, this is our optical character recognition tool. It will pull the text directly off the image. So now it pulled all of the words that were on the image, pulled it off into a text box. I can now tap the T and I can go in and edit that text, or I can simply translate it. And now I've got multiple versions of the same text. One of the other apps that you're probably already familiar with is our casting app called InstaShare 2. The InstaShare 2 app allows you to wirelessly cast from any device to the board. You do have some options to natively cast without using the app, but utilizing the app gives you the most functionality of both your device and the board simultaneously. One thing, if you've used this app, you know that it's fairly simple to connect your device to the board. You just open InstaShare 2 on the board, open InstaShare 2 on your device, and either type in the pairing code or select the board name. But one thing you may not know is that you can actually have multiple devices casting at the same time. Whenever you have an active InstaShare 2 session, you have a little toolbox right here. This is your host control. There's a little tiny icon of InstaShare 2, and this is all of your host controls. This allows you to control everything that's being sent to the panel. At no time during this session can you have something on the board or somebody connected to the board and you're not aware of it. So right here, you can tell that I have two devices that are connected to the board at the same time. But at the moment, I have them hidden because you'll see here there's a little eyeball. When I turn the eyeball on, it brings my device right back. So my devices have actually been connected this whole time, but I just had them hidden because I didn't need them until now. I also have another device. So now I have two devices connected. They're both sharing simultaneously, and it auto split my screen in half to show both devices at the same time. This will actually display up to 9 devices at one time. So think about those days where students have presentations or you're creating resources or students are creating artifacts and you want to share them all and grab that class feedback. You can have all of those showing at the same time. But it's very quick and easy to go in and say, oh, I don't want to look at Lauren's device right now. I'm just going to tap on that eyeball and it's going to make it go away. You can also easily tap the home button on the front of the panel and it just temporarily disables your device in InstaShare 2. So I can still utilize things like my Chrome browser. I can still go back and use my whiteboard. Again, my devices are still connected. I'm just not in InstaShare as an active source right now. To get back, I just tap InstaShare and you'll now see my computer screen. Again, I have full touchback. So this is one of my computer screens. I can come up here. I can minimize all of these resources. I can come back over here and I can switch my device and I still have full control over everything on my computer screen. So even when I have my devices connected to the board via InstaShare 2, I don't have to be standing at my device. I don't have to be sending content from my computer to the board and navigating which window is being shown because I can just open my resources and go between all of my things on my computer directly from the board itself. Also in your host controls, you have the option to utilize the floating window tool. This allows you to resize the window. So I have the icons on the bottom corner that allows me to resize. But if I want to have my EasyWrite open and the resource on my computer open, I can utilize the floating window so that I can multitask and have both my computer and utilizing the Android side of the board as well. I still have full touchback even when accessing my InstaShare 2 through the floating window. One thing that you may not know is that you can actually create your EasyWrite lessons ahead of time to open them on the board. You don't have to create everything while standing at the panel itself. You can download our EasyWrite 6 software directly from our website but we also have the EasyWrite 6 app in the Play Store and the Apple Store as well. When you download that software, it will look exactly like this when you open it on your computer. You have mostly all of the same resources and tools to be able to embed all of your content, as well as create all of those manipulatives and those resources that you use every day. Once you've created one of those lessons, it's best if you drop it into your cloud drive. I can tap the 3 lines on the bottom left, tap the file folder, and now I can pull up all of my recent lessons that I've recently edited on the board, but I can tap the file folder again to be able to access my cloud drive. Now I can go into my Google Drive, into my drive, and I can now go pull that EasyWrite lesson that I created ahead of time. This is going to bring in all of the pages from that lesson. So now that activity that I want to use with my students, I don't have to spend time creating it at the panel. I've created it at home or during my planning time, or maybe this is a resource that's in your shared team drive, and now I can easily pull it up and access these resources from the board. So now I have my different manipulatives that I can now use with my students. You can also manage all of the pages within this lesson by tapping on the page numbers, and you can see how many different slides there are within the lesson. I can click and drag to reorder, or maybe I want to duplicate and I want to have multiple slides of the same thing. I can tap the 3 dots, tap the copy icon, and it's now going to duplicate that slide. So I have multiple copies of that activity. Another resource within EasyWrite that is great for student engagement is our collaborative option called Cloud Whiteboard. Cloud Whiteboard allows you to have a cloud whiteboard session, and it's just as it sounds. I can start a cloud whiteboard manually from the board, which is going to give a QR code that students can easily scan from their iPads or their Chromebooks, and it will prompt them to type in their name to join my lesson. Or if you have Google Classroom, you can start Google Classroom, and it will drop the link directly into your class. Now when students click on the link, it takes them straight into your Google Classroom. The Cloud Whiteboard takes everything I'm doing in the EasyWrite whiteboard and it puts it on their student device. So you'll see here, if you have a student that isn't in your Google Classroom, they can easily scan this QR code, or you can drop this link with the session ID into your Schoology or Canvas account for students to easily access and join your Cloud Whiteboard. Once your Cloud Whiteboard session is live, you'll have an option down here at the bottom, the little person with 3 lines. This will show you all of your participants. You can see your whole class list. They've typed in their name. If you use Google Classroom, it will pre-populate the name that they've been given in their Google Classroom roster. And they default as view only. So their pencil next to their name is gray because right now all they can do is view what I'm doing in my EasyWrite. But when I tap on an icon and I click and drag and I move these resources, or if I make a note about something that's going on, what I am doing in live time is happening on their device. So even when I move into the next page and we work on an example, everything I'm doing will navigate on their computer. This is great not only for a collaborative option, but even just accessibility. Sometimes you have students that have to sit in the back of the room or they're off to the side and they can't see very well. You're now able to take your lesson from the front of the room and push it directly to their device. But maybe you want the students to collaborate with you. I can pick and choose who I want to have editing rights. As I mentioned before, it defaults them to view only, but I can tap on their little pencil and the pencil will turn blue. And now they have the option to edit this lesson. So if I allow one person to edit and they edit from their computer, it's going to edit on the board in live time along with everyone else in the classroom. This is a great option when you have students working in groups and maybe one person is going to be editing on the front of the room, and so everyone has an opportunity to see and learn from one another. An option that the students have when in Cloud Whiteboard is they have a little feature to raise their hand. So again, this is just a great option for some of those students who just don't feel comfortable raising their hand and asking a question out loud. You as the teacher can quickly see who has a question, or you can quickly take a poll as well. Whenever the students raise their hand, a little red bubble will appear right here with a total number of hands raised. So it's an easy way to say, raise your hand if you don't understand, or raise your hand if you've got it. And now you can quickly see how many students in your classroom are ready to move on to the next task. When you end your cloud whiteboard session, it will actually keep that session open in your student's browser, and they can continue editing on their own. This no longer is a live session, so what they edit on their screen is purely their copy now. It's not in live time for everyone else to see. So a great option here would be to have an independent practice piece at the end of the lesson, so that when you end your cloud whiteboard session, the students get to continue working on that independent practice, and then they can just drop it right back into your digital classroom so you can see if they've got it.
Continue to grow your skills with our BenQ Academy. You can find it at academy.benq.com to find more helpful videos and courses. You can also follow our YouTube channel at BenQ Education with additional playlists for your convenience. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to explore answers on our BenQ Service Genie at knowledge.benq.com.